Hi, we're going to do our recap for our irrigation class that we had this morning. Okay, without going too far into programming, most controllers will have a dial, and then we'll have a spot where you can change the different programs. You see I moved it to program B, and there's a program C. That's just so you can differentiate different types of watering systems. Say like I have grass still. All right, then I put that on program A because grass requires a different watering schedule than say anything on drip. All right, and basic, say like, turn the dial, set your time and date. Then you set your start times. This will actually move it to say like my second start time, which is off, but then you just adjust it for there. Mostly the best time to water is going to be first thing in the morning. That's what I've always had best luck with. Run times, that is going to be how many minutes you're actually going to water it. Some of these, all right, see that is 6 hours. It can actually run up to 6 hours if I wanted it to, but we don't need it. We're just worried about minutes or up to like an hour for watering. Run days were Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for right now. And most clocks will have this cute little thing called season adjustment where we're at. So basically I can change, say if like it gets super hot in the summertime without going through and individually turning up my watering minutes on things, I can just go here, put the season adjust and adjust it up. Or I can actually adjust it down. So say if I'm watering for 10 minutes, I bump it up, say like to 110%. Now it's going to water for 11 minutes. Then manually, you can do that. We'll just turn this on. I'm going to scroll through our clock right now and turn something on manually. And there we go. This is just what I turned on manually. This is inside my greenhouse. This is a micro sprayer. And these guys, you can actually adjust like how far they spray by this little dial here on the side, or I can actually even shut it off all the way if I wanted to. But that's just like one thing to do. A lot less amount of water going through there than say like your standard grass pop-up. All right, so we're gonna go from here. We have common wire, then we have like our different zone wires that go to the valve that is actually in the ground in the little valve box. We'll go to that right now and explain more about the valve. All right, so for the valves, you actually have a thing called a solenoid, which is actually an electromagnet. So you have the wires. One will go to the common, then one will go to say like a colored wire for whatever zone number it is. So the clock will send out a charge, opens up a little hole right here, then allows the water to go off the top of the diaphragm down inside the valve and allows water to pass through to go do the watering. I like using Rainbirds, this one, because if I ever have to change the diaphragm or change anything, I can leave the bottom part here in the ground in with the pipe. Then this I can actually unscrew, take off the old stuff, take out the old diaphragm, and then plop a new valve guts right on top of it. Then I don't have to worry about digging anything up or cutting any pipe. All right, most of the time you will have, like, say if it's a brand new house, they'll have PVC stubbed up to like your backyard where you can tie in from your front yard irrigation main line. But if you don't have that luxury, they actually do make fittings. This will actually go onto a hose, and then I can adapt it onto the drip tubing to be a drip system off of the spigot. All right, we're going to get into the difference between gallons per minute, which are usually sprinkler heads like this, and rotor ones, or you have drips, which are in gallons per hour. That is very important to understand. All right, so drip works on gallons per hour. Sprinkler heads for grass work on gallons per minute. So if Southern Nevada Water Authority says, hey, you need to water 3 times a day at 3 to 5 minutes each watering time, they mean that for the grass, not for the drip. If I was watering to 3 to 5 minutes for a drip system, A 1 gallon per hour drip, that's probably about the amount of water that is actually given out to the plant. You need to have that water penetrate the whole root system of the plant, not just that. So over an hour, if this is just like slowly dripping out, allows the water to penetrate the soil in all parts of it and actually get it deeper. Now you pretty much filled up like your whole root zone to actually get enough water to the plants that it needs. All right, different components of drip systems. You'll have like a 1/2-inch tubing, which is like your main feeder, and it actually does come in 3/4 inch. You'll have fittings. This is like a coupling, and this is I use for like repairs. This is probably like one of the best ones to use for repair. And then you'll have, say, like your spaghetti line tubing, and then you'll have, this is actually for, say, like the micro spray, or they actually have like little spider sprays for different uses. And then you can get down to, say, like your drip emitters, like individual ones like this. This one gives out 1 gallon per hour. Then you have other ones, they give out, say this one gives out 2 gallons per hour. Difference between these two. This one is called pressure compensating. It has that PC. This one is non-pressure compensating. All that means is, say, like these emitters right here, no matter where it is in the line, at the beginning of the line or the very, very end of the line, you're almost guaranteed that 1 gallon per hour is going to be going through that emitter. With these are great for, like, say, if you have to clean it out, they're little flag emitters. But say, like, if I have a bunch of these on a line and I'm going, say, like 50 feet, the ones at the very end aren't going to be shooting out as much water as the ones at the beginning of the line, because there's no pressure compensating in there. Which all that means is just there's like this little rubber diaphragm inside the emitter that kind of like regulates, no matter what the pressure is, no matter where it's in the line, will guarantee you to put out 1 gallon per hour. Then I also have an option to have drip tubing that actually has the emitters spaced every 6 inches or every 1 foot. And that is more convenient to, say, like if I need to put 6 drippers around my fruit trees, instead of having a whole bunch of, like, say, 6 lines of spaghetti going out around there, I can use 1 line, and then I can actually loop this around the tree, and I have an emitter spaced every 6 inches. All right, so say I am ready to put my 1/4 inch tubing into my 1/2 inch tubing. The tool that I'm going to use, and I always recommend, is this little guy, a hole punch tool. You can find those at Star Nursery. So most people will say, oh, it hurts my fingers to put these emitters and connectors in, but you see like how easily that punched in there, in through. And then I just grab a connector, put it into the little hole right here, and then I just like push it right in, and then I can connect up with my drip line from there. Just like that. Then I can either put like a drip emitter at the very end or run my inline tubing to like the location that I want it to. All right, this is just an example. I actually have the drippers coming off of here. Here's the spaghetti tubing. I just ran 1, 2, recommended 2, but I did put 3 on this one just because they actually don't put out as much water. But say like with the 1/4 inch tubing, you should not run it more than 15 feet long, just because you won't have the volume of water that you need. But you kind of get the idea. These are just like, for like a raised pot. And I have some cute little basil growing here. All right, and then this is around a new fruit tree. And so I actually ran like the 1/4 inch tubing here, and then I adapted it over to the drippers that are inside the tubing. And then, well, I do have like that one at the end, but other ones I do have like a different emitter at the end. I try to use a thing called a goof plug at the end, but they just seem to pop out at the end, even though the pressure is down low. But say like when there was the heat going on, then they would actually, the tubing gets loosened up. So that's that. So figured it's just kind of like, have to try different things out. So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those are roughly like pushing out like 1 gallon, 7, 8. So I actually have like 8 gallons per hour going through this at each watering time. And a cat that is trying to mark his territory on the tree. Say hi, Gary. Okay. Are you done? All right, just to give you an idea on the micro sprays again, they come in halves and they also come in quarters. This is my little experimental seed and cutting area, but you can adapt this to say like any type of gardening type. So I have a quarter spray there, half spray here, a quarter there, and then I have it mimicked like that on the other side. That would just give me like enough coverage. So this right now, in this type of weather, it's watering 10 minutes to cover everything. And I have this on the same system as my gardening stuff that is in pots. All right, so I think we covered the basics of the irrigation. A lot to cover, but next classes, if you have any further questions on irrigation, feel free to ask. And I have like ways to like, demonstrate or show you some of the ideas that I've come up with. A lot of it is just experimenting with what we have available. Say like if I go to Lowe's or Home Depot, they'll carry different products than Star Nursery or say like an irrigation store will have. I myself prefer to go to Star Nursery or an irrigation store because they have stuff that I'm more familiar with. Plus Lowe's and Home Depot, they usually carry product that is vastly over a bunch of different areas, not specifically to our southwest area and to our desert. So we'll see you in a few weeks.